Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, hurricane season is here, which means that I'm going to have to start making these videos a little bit more frequently than I have been in the past. I promise I'll get to the tropical stuff in this video, but first I wanted to start with more traditional severe weather that's happening up in Pennsylvania and Jersey right now. If we jump over to the Storm Prediction Center, which is the center of the National Weather Service that sort of looks at the environment of areas and categorizes them in scales of 1 to 5, basically, um, and predicts where the severe weather will be and puts out watches. They don't put out the warnings, but they put out the watches for severe weather. As you can see up here in Pennsylvania, we have an enhanced risk for severe weather. You can think of enhanced as a 3 out of 5 or a 60% chance for severe weather. Now, these are all analogous, and weather is very hard to forecast, so you can't really put an exact number on this. There's been plenty of enhanced days that have given us nothing. There's been plenty of 1 out of 5 days that have given us a ton. But just because it's here, we're going to take a look at the severe thunderstorm watch that was issued for most of Pennsylvania and most of middle and southern Jersey. Now, as you can see, there's this sort of big complex of storms. It's not really a squall line, but for simplicity's sake, I will call it a squall line. Now, this is sort of sitting over the central part of Pennsylvania right now and will work its way south and east through the day. This situation is not tornadic, hence why there's no tornado watch and only a severe thunderstorm watch. The main risk with this is going to be very high winds, as the nature of these type of systems leads to high straight line winds. Hail, not really a factor as well. The environment doesn't really favor that either. Overall, I think this is, personally, I think this is going to be a rather low-end severe weather event, but you still need to take it very seriously. These straight line wind events can cause quite a bit of damage, not to mention, it's torrential rainfall. If we jump over to the radar here, you can see that didn't do what I wanted. But let me just go into my software here. Okay, we are where we wanted. If you look at what we have here, it's this sort of big line of storms that's just about to come into Harrisburg. Here in this pink box, excuse me, you can see the tornado or severe thunderstorm watch. I'm sorry, folks. I had coffee. My mouth is a little dry, so if I stumble over my words a little bit, that's why. So you can see there's a few severe thunderstorm warnings, especially for from Lewistown to Harrisburg. I think Lewistown's out of the worst right now. It's going to end up moving into Harrisburg rather soon. I'm not entirely sure how fast these storms are moving. I can click on the warning. As you can see here, they're expecting hail a little under an inch if there is any hail, but these winds are expecting 70-mile-per-hour winds. So whether or not that's in a tornado or just straight line, 70-mile-per-hour winds is just under hurricane force winds. So you figure anything a Category 1 hurricane can do to a building, these storms will do as well, albeit over a much smaller time period, so the damage won't be as extreme. But if I look at the storm motion, that's not what I wanted to do. The storm motion on this, they are moving very fast, moving east, southeast at 70 miles per hour. So these storms are racing to the east, southeast. So, but that means once it hits you, it'll be over very quickly. The winds might be very strong. The wind might be very strong for a few minutes. But once you get past it, you have mostly light rain behind all of this. So once it passes you, you're in the clear. But once that main line reaches you, conditions are going to go downhill very fast, but then they're going to improve rapidly. So Philadelphia needs to be on the lookout within the next few hours. Allentown, Trenton, I know Levittown's up here, Atlantic City, anywhere in southern Jersey, middle of Jersey, Pennsylvania, even areas of Baltimore and parts of Maryland need to be on the lookout, just in case this thing tracks a little bit more south than what they think. It's not unheard of for these systems. So anywhere in the Northeast, from Baltimore north to really almost New York City, needs to be on the watch out for this situation. I'm sorry, folks. I am really tripping over my words today. Needs to be on the lookout for this system. as it races at 70 miles per hour to the east-southeast. Now, back to the main topic of this video. So we come back over here to the National Hurricane Center. Now, Cristobal. I'm sure you've heard about it on the news. It's sort of meandered over from the Pacific here into Mexico, came into the Gulf, and re-intensified. It actually was a system in the Pacific that died once it hit Mexico, got into the Gulf of Mexico, and then reformed into Cristobal. So Cristobal right now is actually a rather strong tropical storm, 60-mile-per-hour winds. It's very, actually, fairly substantial tropical storm, not really moving southeast at 3 miles per hour. This is expected to increase over time, but right now, not really moving. It's a rather powerful system for as tropical storms go, but it's moving over land now. It made landfall earlier today, I believe around 8 a.m. So it will begin to weaken a bit before it re-strengthens over the Gulf. So if we go to the cone that they like to show you, as you can see, Cristobal is down here, just made landfall, and it's going to move over Mexico before weakening again and turning to the north. It's going to be forced north by other environmental factors. So it's actually going to weaken down to a tropical depression again, which is good for the people who are going to be in Mexico, because the winds will die down a lot. The rainfall will still be there. This is going to dump a massive amount of rainfall in Mexico. Unfortunately, we know places in Mexico are prone to flooding, but once it takes off and moves to the north, should start to exit Mexico really about 2 days from now. So that gives you an idea how much rain just going to be dumped in this area of Mexico. The flooding there is going to be very substantial. Now, once it starts to move north, it's going to start picking up steam. It's going to re-strengthen into a tropical storm, basically right to where it was before it weakened. The waters down here in the Gulf of Mexico are exceedingly warm. But once it gets north of there, it seems to only really maintain its strength. You can have hurricane force wind gust, but they're still expecting it to be below hurricane strength. Now, granted, this is a whole 4 days out from now, so this could change a lot, strength-wise, all of that, before entering Baton Rouge, that sort of area of Louisiana in the middle of it, and then weakening as it moves inland rather rapidly. But right now, the current track has it right over Louisiana as it moves north from Mexico into the Gulf and then into the U.S. Now, like I said, there's a large range of uncertainty with it. I mean, just yesterday, the cone was really just centered on Mexico. They thought it'd just meander in Mexico. That's what all the models are showing. Now all the models are showing Louisiana, potentially Texas, potentially Florida, in the far panhandle. But this is subject to a lot of change going forward. So if we jump back over here to the radar, I can show you exactly where Cristobal is on satellite. As you can see, I have the cone pulled up here again. This is Radar Omega. This is not the typical radar software I use. I like this a lot. It gives me a lot of extra things. So as you can see, Cristobal is right here. Now, if I can try to come to satellite, this is visible satellite right now. And unfortunately, I don't know if I can pull up this area. Let's see what Gulf of Mexico gives me. There we go. There's Cristobal right down here. Let me take the cone off for you so you can see it better. So this big complex right here is Cristobal. It looks much better than it did, say, yesterday. It's organized a lot. It should fall apart a bit as it moves inland, but once it moves back out over the Gulf, it should re-strengthen rather rapidly. It'll regain its form. As you can see, it doesn't have an eye. Most tropical storms are not strong enough to have those eyes. Usually that's reserved for hurricanes. Even weak hurricanes sometimes don't have eyes. But as you can see, it's going to move here, sort of come north before really sort of moving into New Orleans, just west of New Orleans, really into there. That's what the model said. That was the last model run. So now what we're going to do now is we're going to come back and actually look at the models. I haven't looked at the models today, but we might as well take another glance at it. This is the GFS. You all know my reserved feelings of the GFS. The GFS is bad, let's just put it that way. But that's neither here nor there. It's accurate sometimes, so we're going to use it. So, as we look at the GFS with this system, you can see parts of Cristobal down here at the bottom. So, as we move forward, it'll probably move off screen very briefly. You can still see some of the outer rain bands. Here in Jacksonville, even once, no matter where it goes, we're going to get a lot of tropical moisture pulled from the south. So we should actually be getting a fair amount of rain, whether this actually hits us or not. I'd say anywhere from 3 to 5 inches right now. The farther west you go, maybe the coast 1 to 2. But there will be a substantial amount of rainfall with this. So here you can see Cristobal start to drift back north. You can see it designated by this L here. It stands for low pressure. So as it moves north, the GFS wants to take it sort of the New Orleans area. The GFS has it wobbling around a lot, which is kind of interesting. Before being okay, so that's why there's a high pressure system sitting right here in the northeast that's going to end up forcing Cristobal more to the west than it wants to go. So that would help push it to the west away from Jacksonville. So right now, that's what we're looking with. And then you can see it gets kind of mixed up in this, it looks like a cold front right here across the center of the screen, which is going to end up pushing it off to the north and east as an ex-tropical cyclone, not really even a tropical system anymore. So right now, the GFS is still staying in the middle of Louisiana for landfall. It has a weaker system. If I can go in and look at the winds. But judging by that pressure, it has a rather weaker system. Yeah, this isn't... The GFS is not forecasting a very strong system, but the one I really want to look at is the European model, which is the crown jewel of most weather models. So you can see what the European model is going to say here. So the European has Cristobal down south. It's going to moving to the north. You can see it. So the European already has a stronger system forecasted than the GFS did, and it actually has a bit of a lack of that high pressure ridge here. Although it's still sort of evident there, it's not as strong as it was, and it also has a high here over Mexico that sort of might help the system move a little bit to the east. No, roughly the same landfall point. As you can see, intensity-wise, it's a little bit stronger than what the GFS had. Not anything world-breaking, though. It's roughly the same. It's going to be a tropical storm if it makes landfall. According to the models right now, like I said, this can change quickly. As the models get new information, they can change vastly. But after that point, the models seem to be in agreement for the most part. Yeah. So that's all I really have to say on that right now. So going forward, just keep your eye on the tropics. Everyone up in Philly, be prepared for that system move through. Like I said, it's moving very quickly, 70 miles per hour. The winds with this system are also 70 miles per hour. So some straight line wind damage will occur. However, once it moves through, conditions will improve rapidly. Just make sure that you tie down anything on porches, bring things inside, because those will be flying projectiles with those winds. All right, folks, that's all I really have for today. I'm sorry for the obvious stumbling of my words in this video. That's what happens when you drink coffee, folks. It dries out your mouth. It tends to happen. So, pro tip, if you're ever going to record a video, don't drink coffee right before you do. But anyway, I will catch you guys probably tomorrow when I make another video on this, or maybe even tonight if new information comes out. Until then, I will see you guys later.